Greetings, it is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's time to continue our discussion on the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition D&D. So let's just dive right back into it. We were talking about the combat rules. Today I'm going to bring in talking about just the general basics of damage and cover mechanics. So let's talk about the cover mechanics. So when you have cover, you have something, a creature, an object, a wall, a tree, something blocking your way, that's blocking between you and whatever you're fighting. This is creating cover. Now, it has to actually be in between you. So if I'm next to a wall and a guy's on the other side, the guy's on the other side of the wall, if let's say it's just like a wall up to here on my chest, you know, I've got cover from him. While if he's on my other side over here, I don't have cover from him. I'm not gaining cover from him, from the wall at this point in time. So there's 3 levels of cover. Now, these 3 levels of cover, if something is giving you more than one type of cover, it's going to give you the best cover. So if it qualifies for like 2 of these 3 types of cover, you're only going to get whatever's best out of them. If you qualify for them from different things. So let's say I've got a creature in front of me that's blocking the way, and then a wall behind him that's like chest high, and then somebody on the other side. I'm only going to get what's best out of the 2 of them. They're not going to stack up. Multiple covers don't stack. I'm just getting the best of them. So let's talk about the different types of cover. The first one is half cover. This would be, of course, a wall like up to my chest. It's like blocking half of my body. This gives me +2 AC and +2 to my dexterity save. As I said, like a lower wall, another creature, or a thin tree would qualify as half cover. And there's 3/4 cover. This would give me +5 to my AC and +5 to my dexterity saves. Now this would be like firing through an arrow slit. I'm on the other side of the arrow slit, I have 3/4 cover, or like a thick tree, I'm right behind it that's like taking up my entire body's worth, and I'm trying to like fight from behind that. That would be 3/4 cover. Now there is also total cover. Total cover, you can't directly target someone with an attack or ability when they have total cover from you, because they're like, you can't see them, they're blocked. This would be behind a wall, like an actual wall all the way to the ceiling. Maybe it doesn't have a roof above it. Maybe there's like an opening over here that you can't see through. Things like fireballs that create areas can maybe go around this cover, but just directly targeting me behind this big old wall, you can't do it. Now you're going to have hit points. That's HP. That's going to be a score that's going to represent how much physical abuse you can take. It's a combination of your physical ability to take hits and your mental durability. So the physical mental durability tells you how much of a beating you can take. And you're going to have this number be from your total hit points, which is going to be defined by usually your character or whatever you roll. If your DM has you roll for it, normally I take the averages, but just the saying, from whatever your total hit points are to 0 are what your current hit points are going to be, and it's going to fluctuate a lot. You're going to take hits. You're going to take damage. Now, damage from a source is defined by whatever source it is. A weapon will tell you what dice it is, a spell will tell you what dice it is, any kind of thing will tell you what kind of dice you roll, and any kind of modifiers you have to it. Like if I do a sword attack, it's going to tell me what kind of sword damage I'm doing, and what kind of strength and what kind of bonus I'm adding. Normally for sword it would be strength. If whatever attack I'm doing would target more than one creature, I would only roll the dice once. Now let's talk about critical hits. When I get a critical hit, it's assuming I roll a 20 on some kind of attack roll, I'm criticaling. When I'm rolling a critical damage, I will roll my dice twice. Let's say I'm doing a D8. I would roll 2D8, and then after I roll that, I'd add all my modifiers in. So if I normally would get a D8 plus 2 as my normal attack with my sword, I would roll for a critical 2D8 plus that 2. Now if a spell or effect would add extra dice to this roll, you would also roll. For example, sneak attack. If I'm doing that D8, which I'm critically to 2D8, and I have 2D6 sneak attack I'm doing, and oh hey, I'm triggering a sneak attack, I would roll, instead of that 2D6, 4D6. So I would double any extra dice I would add on would also be doubled from a critical hit. So let's move on. Let's talk about the different types of damage you can do. There's an entire list in the book of what each type of damage is and what they represent, sort of a little bit of what they do. I'll briefly go over the list. I'm not going to go as detail of what these actually mean. I'll go a little bit about them. There's of course acid damage you can take. It's what it sounds like. Some form of effective acid is burning you. There's bludgeoning. This is like a club hitting you. There's cold damage. This is, being in the cold, being hit by some kind of ice or freezing attack. There's fire damage. You're burning. There's force damage. This is like raw magical powers just hitting you. There's lightning damage. It's you're getting hit with some kind of electricity. There's necrotic damage. A lot of undead can cause this, and certain spells can cause this sort of effect. It's sort of like the power of death, almost, you could call necrotic damage. There's piercing. There's something stabbing into you. There's poison damage. It's caused by a poison effect, some kind of poison hitting you, you're going to take poison damage. There's psychic damage. That's something with affecting a mind. It's damage that directly hits the mind. There's radiant damage, which a lot of like angels and divine beings can use. Also certain spells can cause radiant damage. There's slashing damage, which is like hitting with a sword like this. You know, I'm not stabbing with the sword, I'm slashing with the sword. I do slashing damage. And then there's thunder, which thunder is like a sound damage. You're getting hit with sound. I apologize for the storm in the background. I'm going to try to edit it out as much as I can. But there's a little bit in this video. It's Stormus Interruptus. Anyway, let's continue discussing it. Let's talk about resistances and vulnerabilities. So resistance and vulnerabilities are something creatures and players can get. Once you have one, it affects when you're hit with a certain type of those damages I just talked about from that list. So if I have a vulnerability to a damage, let's say psychic damage, I would take twice the damage when I'm hit with it. On the other hand, if I had a resistance to that psychic damage, I would take half damage from the source. Now to figure out how much damage you're taking, you roll the dice, you add the modifiers, and then you either divide it in half if you have resistance, or double it if you have vulnerability. So it's after the dice roll, after the modifiers are added in. Like if you're criticaling, it would be after all the dice are rolled. It's after, again, all the modifiers are added in. It's when the final damage, if it was a normal attack, you figure that out, and then you apply whether you're vulnerable or resistance to whatever type of damage that is that's hitting you. Now, for whatever reason, if you should get multiple instances of a resistance or a vulnerability, they don't stack. Meaning you can only get the resistance once, you can only get the vulnerability once. So if I have, let's say, fire resistance from 3 different sources, I'm not dividing it in half, dividing it in half, dividing it in half, I'm dividing it in half once for all of them, and that's all I'm getting hit with. So that's it for today. I've gone over the basics I wanted to go over. I've gone over cover, the basics of damage, the damage types, and talking a little bit about resistances and vulnerability. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. It shows your support for the channel and the Empire. Please subscribe if you already haven't. We're always looking for more members, for more citizens of the Empire. And please share this video if you know anybody that would learn anything from it or would just enjoy watching it. And until next time, I bid you farewell.